Chapter 3 Factors Affecting Temperature. Moving on to study the individual weather variables, one must understand them to be able to predict the weather. This chapter entails studying in detail about how temperature affects weather and the factors that affect temperature. Let us first look at how temperature affects weather. Air temperature plays a very crucial part in shaping the weather. It affects the ability of the air to absorb water vapors that are present in the air composition, as explained in Chapter 1. The more there is water vapor in the air becomes warmer, and this in turn causes weather conditions such as thunderstorms and hurricanes. It is the land and the sun that affects the level of heat in the air. The stronger the ray of the sun in an area, the more heat there is in the air. As hot air rises up in the atmosphere, the temperature falls and this forms clouds. The more the moisture taken in by the clouds, more is the level of precipitation. Precipitation can fall in various forms such as rain, sleet, snow, or hail. This interaction between cold and warm air makes up for the different weather conditions we experience. Let me explain this phenomenon with an example. When cold air moves into warm air, it will effectively contract. This causes the cold air to become denser and heavier than warm air, pushing itself out underneath the warm air. This process thus explains the occurrence of higher content of water vapor in the air that causes thunderstorms. The air then becomes cooler as the sky begins to clear. On the flip side, when warm air moves into cold air, it makes the warm air rise up as it is not as dense or heavy as the cold air. This process causes precipitation that falls in its different forms. On occasions when the hot and cold air remain stationary, it results in some probability of precipitation and weak winds. Moving on, we shall now find out the different factors that affect temperature. First, latitude. Temperature varies as we go towards the poles from the equator. The sun's rays falls vertically in the lower latitudes and diagonal in the higher latitudes. Places that fall in the lower latitudes hence are hotter than places in the higher latitudes. Second, altitude. Temperature decreases as the altitude increases at the rate of 1 degree Celsius for every 165 meters of ascent. This is due to the atmosphere getting heated up due to its terrestrial radiation. The lower the air, the denser it is. It contains water vapors and dust particles that absorb the heat, which does not happen in higher altitude. Third, distance from the sea. The temperature of the places close to the sea tends to be moderately low as it is affected by land and sea breezes. Places away from the coast have extremes of temperature. Fourth, winds. Areas that are in constant interaction with onshore sea winds experience moderate temperature as compared to places that experience offshore land winds. Fifth, ocean currents. Warm currents pass through a place raising the temperature of the area, and cold currents lower the temperature of the affected area. Winds blowing over the warm currents of the ocean also bring heavy rainfall in the region. On the other hand, winds blowing over cold currents absorb less moisture from the air, hence the rainfall is less. Other factors such as the direction of the mountains in the region, the slopes of the land, its vegetation and soil also greatly affect the temperature. This now brings us to the end of Chapter 3. At the end of this chapter, you are able to understand the role temperature plays in affecting weather conditions and the various other factors that contribute